Here's another reason why you want to take control of what you're doing.
Everything kind of funnels into the only winning move is not to play the game.
I don't know, guys. This whole thing sounds pre-recorded.
School should be a safe place.
That statement seems like a no-brainer, right? But the fact is, school districts have to be proactive about it.
So you're going to need to sign in, and here's a pass.
Maybe even try a new approach.
We are first and foremost focused on how do we have a layered approach to safety and security.
Lakeville Area Schools has made this a priority, from Superintendent Michael Bauman to the school board to the public. In 2019, they passed a levy and bond referendum that helped add an additional school resource officer to the middle schools. They set up an anonymous reporting system and added a psychologist to handle threat assessments.
We know that the kids that have been active shooters have had struggles, and at some point, maybe if someone would have intervened in a different way, maybe we could have headed that off. And I do feel in our district that we've had numerous situations over the last few years that we have made an impact on kids.
Reality is, not all threats get caught in time. So Lakeville went one step further.
When we came up with the system, we wanted to answer all those what-if questions.
They partnered with Minnesota-based 3D Response Systems.
We understand that the prevention is the most important piece, and to develop those relationships with the people in your building is the most important thing you can do. Now, if one slips through the cracks, which in a population like this school of 1,500 kids, but it's very possible, then our system comes into play to keep as many people safe as we possibly can.
3D Response Systems is a multi-layered design to get the police there faster and provide tools for the people inside to survive. The company was started by police, firefighters, educators, and parents. It takes the active shooter training, run, hide, fight, and adds 3 things they say makes it more effective: cover, concealment, and communication.
Cover is something that's going to protect you from like a bullet. Concealment is something that I can't see you. Communication is having constant active communication to keep you in the know.
Almost all of it is out of sight, so you don't lose the feeling of a teaching space. The only visible signs are the police buttons on the wall in every room, in every building.
You simply push a button, and when you push that button, you've sent a text message to dispatch that says, police needed a room 102, Lakeville North High School. And each room, when they hit their button, a new text message will be sent. It also activates 1,200 pounds of magnetic pressure on your door. So you get a nice tight seal, and you're not going to get through that door. And then lastly, it sets off the alert system, both inside and outside the school.
Hidden ballistic panels can be pulled out of the walls if needed, and cameras help the officers responding get to where the threat is faster.
That's part of the communication piece that comes in. So the teachers know exactly where the intruder is. When the first officer arrives, they can talk to the officer and say he's on the 3rd floor by room 302.
Lakeville has installed the system in both high schools and is working its way through every school in the district. A system they hope they never have to use. But having it is peace of mind, because just hoping it never happens isn't a solution.
We're fully aware that you can't stop the first one. I mean, it's a reactive situation, but you can stop the next 5.
Rena Sargentopoulos, KARE 11 News.
So we have Las Vegas and Sandy Hook. We have Parkland, Orlando, Aurora, San Bernardino, Virginia Tech, Columbine, Uvalde, all mass shootings that taken place in places where they are all soft targets. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Weather Report. And today we have a very special program with a couple of people one person that I've had on before and a new person that I haven't had on before. And I'm going to introduce them right now. Number one, we have Jason Polinski, who has not been here before, from 3D Response System, and Shane Mekeland, who is a Minnesota State representative. We want to welcome them both here. And what we're here for today is to talk about what we can do about these mass shootings, or what we can do to protect ourselves from these incidents, and not from happening, but actually, be proactive in case something does start happening. And I'm at a loss for words with what happened this week with Charlie Kirk. Basically, you don't really foresee any of these things happening, and it's really, really a tragedy for what I said a long time ago, that we were eventually going to see this happen live on TV or on the internet or wherever it was. And there we are, a very graphic scene of what happened with Charlie Kirk. And we got to come to grips with gun violence, because guns are going to be around. I'm a staunch advocate of the Second Amendment, and I want to keep my firearms as long as I can keep them, depending on what government is telling you they're going to pick up your firearms or not. But I'm a very, very staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. And I think it goes hand in hand that we should have some kind of a remediable response or some type of preventative actions. And that's what Jason from 3D Response actually provides for us. So I want to introduce you and thank you for being on our show, Jason. How are you doing today?
Right in the middle of a Vikings game, Bruce.
I'm sure you are. Everybody's right in the middle of the Vikings game. But anyway.
No, I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this business. I know that you're a retired police officer, just recently retired, and how you got into the school systems and what made you think about something that actually that this resolves, or that helps this.
Well, first and foremost, I got sick and tired of seeing dead children and sick and tired of nobody do anything about it. It goes back to the early 2000s. I went from patrol officer to school resource officer, worked with kids for 3.5 years or so. I got promoted to sergeant, and then I went into narcotics, came back, and I was in charge of the school resource officer program. And then I went to lieutenant, and I oversaw the program all in all for about 20 years. I was also an active shooter instructor to both civilians and first responders for about 20 years. And my frustration was probably right after Sandy Hook. I refused to teach run, hide, fight anymore. So we're talking 2012, 2013-ish, because run, hide, fight was not working at all. And if it was working, we wouldn't see, from Columbine 17 dead to Uvalde 22. It'd be completely opposite if we found something effective that was working. And I just got sick of it. So me and my business partner now, he was a partner of mine on narcotics. He's also a SWAT guy. We looked at, let's take the police response, let's take the run, hide, fight response, and let's put them on steroids. How do we make this effective? So it took 4 years of research and development and arguing with fire marshals and architects, and we finally completed the system, got it patented, and then we got our first install, and it kind of went from there. But my passion started working with the kids, and I've always had a passion for the elderly, and I've had a passion for the kids. Getting so frustrated that nobody's even, because everything was focused on guns. It's been a 30-year argument, and I was sick of the argument.
Can you tell me what kind of I didn't mean to stop you right there, but can you tell me what kind of roadblocks were you getting from architects and designers and contractors and stuff like that, or fire marshals and things like that? I don't understand the problem with trying to protect children in school.
So from the fire side, it wasn't so much a roadblock as it was so much fire code doesn't allow that. So we just had to regroup and come up with something that would fall within fire code. We've got a couple of approvals of things that actually are outside of fire code, but we'd have to do that for every single building we go into, whether it's state or local, or if it goes to a different state. But we have ways around it now. So it was a process with them. So it wasn't as much of a roadblock. It was just, here's what the code says, and you can't do this. So we got creative and just figured a different way. As far as architects go, architects, they're really into the next plaque they can put on their wall for the prettiest building they made. and we struggle with them to listen to what we're saying here. What you're doing, you know, the open school concept and windows and all this other, these classroom pods, you know, you're creating a target rich environment with absolutely no cover whatsoever for these kids. And they don't like us. They still don't like us because we have a hard time securing a fishbowl. If you want to build a fishbowl, I got a really hard time to secure the fish inside that fishbowl. Right. So that's still a barrier we have. So hopefully we can overcome that as well. But it's been a 10-year fight, to be honest. And political fight, probably the biggest. Educational leader fight, that's been a huge one where they don't think it's needed. Mm-hmm. It's almost this much needed paradigm shift on how we view the whole concept of keeping our kids safe, because what we've been doing is shit.
Yeah. For the audience out there, what is the average response time in any type of situation that happens at a school where the police are needed, even if there's a resource officer there?
Great question. It depends. I can tell you, when I was a school cop, I was in the building of 2,200 kids, and I could be in my office, I could be working with a kid, and there could be 50 gunshots going off in another part of the building that I never know. So even though there's a good gun in the building, there's bad stuff going on, I'm still reacting to it. And then take the school cop out, now the good gun is miles away in a squad car. But it's deeper than that, because you have to look into, if you're in that hallway or that space where that gun is exposed and that gun or the knife is exposed, it doesn't have to be a gun. Yeah. What stress is placed on those teachers and kids at that moment? And if you think they can actually barricade themselves, maintain their composure, if they can run with a bunch of fourth graders, if they can open their phone and actually dial 911 in that moment, you are 100% wrong. I've been involved in shootings. I understand the physiological effects of stress that occurs to a human body that you would never experience without being in that moment. And a lot of people say the macho stand, well, I would do whatever. I'd like to see it, brother. You know, when bullets are flying by your head, I would love to see you make a 911 call. I would love to see you barricade your kids. I would love to see you make a decision. Yeah, because your brain's going to be triggered to overload.
Yep.
So
I was involved in the Gilroy mass shooting, that the Gilroy Garlic Festival mass shooting. My daughter was outside in the concourse area. She hit the ground, and I was actually in the vault. We were actually protecting the money and stuff there. And believe me, when thoughts are going through your head that you would never think that would be going through your head, and for some people, you're almost frozen with number one, fear, concern, and other things. I mean, what's going through your mind, or what do you think is going through the mind of somebody that's involved with that? I know a law enforcement officer is prepared for reacting to that, but what have you seen? Do you see frozen people? Do you see just confusion all the way around, or people scattering? I mean, I know that I saw at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. I wonder if it's typical with schools and other mass shootings like Vegas and the Orlando incident.
It's mass hysteria. It's mass panic. There is no order to it whatsoever. Literally, people's lives are, you go into fight or flight, you know, and that's kind of what run, hide, fight is. It's nothing more than fight or flight, but they put a name to it. And now everybody thinks that's the cat's meow response. It's a natural response. So yeah. And there's a lot of opinions that get thrown out on what the best response is. And those opinions, in my opinion, are emotional based, with not a lot of experience or education or whatever involved into it to make that decision. That's why you hear things like arm the teachers. Well, let's think about that a little bit before you just throw it out there. Or metal detectors. Well, let's think about that a little bit. And, and I can go on and on about why I personally think they both are horrible ideas, but that's a long conversation.
Yeah, I want to bring Shane in here real quick. Shane, what are some of the legislative problems that are facing Jason here with implementing this response system that he has?
So in 2023, there was a bill before our house, which I was not aware of initially until Jason reached out to me and said, I don't know what you call it, but can you do whatever it is called where you put your name on it? He didn't know how to say it. I don't walk in his shoes. He doesn't walk in mine. So he just tried to explain it, right? And so I went to the person that had the bill. I don't even remember the bill number back in 2023. I know it right now. It's House File 15, and it's called the SHIELD Act. And so he explained to me all this stuff. And again, in 2023, I guess I hadn't said this yet, but I had a bill that would permit teachers to be armed. And it made sense. Like, why would you not? If they're competent, if they're like able-bodied and they're willing, why not? Right? Since then, Jason's pointed out to me, educated me, whatever you want to call it. Are you going to give them qualified immunity? Are you going to teach them less lethal? Are you going to teach them gun retention in the event they're like in a high school and they get into a hand-on-hand kind of moment? How many hours do you require them to do training to make sure that they're somewhat skilled at carrying this? All of this while they sign up to be a teacher, not a cop. Or otherwise, like all of that, which is a lot for a lot of people because a lot of people don't even know what the hell qualified immunity means.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so if a teacher was to be in her classroom or anywhere in the school and they perceived it to be the threat and they fired and it went through a wall and then injured or killed a kid on the other side of that wall, what insurance protection do they have?
Right.
What within that realm, what is there behind that for psychiatric care? Because they'll never be the same at that point, because they sign up to be a teacher because they love teaching kids and they just hurt one. So you have all of that to tie into this. Then they talk about veterans. Again, we can go back to qualified immunity. What's your immunity in the event something goes wrong?
Mm-hmm.
If they screw up? Jason has talked about in the past about, I believe Texas passed this, and a teacher in error or a staff member, whatever, left a firearm in a bathroom. You got to take it off so you do your thing.
Right.
But then a student brought it back to the office because they found it. So all of these things are need to be taken into account before you go there. And it's not an easy conversation. However, on the other side of it is, as Jason just said, he's heard the argument on, take all the guns away or add more guns for 30 years of his career. And at the end of the day, why not try this and actually give them the concealment, the cover, and the communication to take that school back immediately. And after touring one yesterday, I literally toured it yesterday for the first time. And after seeing the stuff that I've heard about so many times, but actually seeing what it does, how it does it, was a pretty astounding thing. And, our governor is allegedly going to be calling a special session based on the Annunciation Catholic school shooting.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be talking about banning assault-style weapons and large
Whatever that
capacity
means.
magazines.
Whatever that means.
Well, but okay, but yes, what is an assault weapon? Anything used against you, right?
Right.
So, and then you have the 4 neighboring states, which would be Wisconsin, Iowa, North and South Dakota. So, if you can't get it here, you can get it there. If somebody wants to do something bad enough, plus there's I think Jason's numbers were 4 guns for every person in the United States. I've seen it elsewhere. So it doesn't really matter because criminals don't really care about laws to begin with, or somebody with bad intent. At the end of the day, I mean, we just saw that, because the same day the Charlie Kirk thing happened, there was also a school shooting in Colorado.
Yes, there was.
Apparently the laws in Colorado, they had red flag laws, universal background checks. They had all this stuff in place, and it didn't seem to stop that. So nor did it stop the enunciation one that we passed red flag laws. I shouldn't say we, they, but it didn't seem to affect that either. All the red flags were there for this kid.
Correct.
But his mother never reported them. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because Minnesota state law says under the red flag law, if you're aware of somebody, a loved one or a family member, whatever could be potentially a threat to themselves or others, please report them on that regard if they have a firearm. In the same year, they passed another law, which was a banning of conversion therapy. If you have a child that can't figure out what sexual identity they are, you are no longer allowed to report them. Under the threat, you would lose your child. So report them over here, don't report them over there. And that's where this whole thing is like, I don't know that we need to get that far in the weeds, but at the end of the day, what Jason and his partners developed in his long career was kind of a bridge or a roadblock in between. While we all debate this nonsense, let's just keep the staff and the kids safe. Give them the tools to take their school back and do it immediately. Jason, I would actually ask you, I'm going to actually beg you, you did like active shooter training roughly, I don't know, I thought it was a month ago. I could be wrong on those numbers, but there was, without the system in place, there was a number for what it took to neutralize a threat. With the system in place, there was a much lesser number. If you could recite those numbers, please.
So it was it's deeper than that. So first off, on average, you can take a school that houses 2,000 kids and in 60 seconds provide every child cover, concealment with an internal communication going on. And the whole point behind that is you take a target-rich environment and you make it target-less as fast as you can. And by target-less, you look at the stakeholders. Those stakeholders are the children, the teachers, and the first responders. Right now, they don't have any tools whatsoever. Then you throw the response in from the police. What our system does is with the internal communication piece is once that first officer arrives, they're going to be literally Google mapped audibly. So they'd hear something like, "Officer, I see you come through the doors. I want you to take a right. You're going to go up the steps. When you get to the top steps, take a left. The intruder is wearing a flannel shirt, blah, blah, blah." With that piece there alone, the average, and this is an elementary school of about 700, 800 kids, it took a little around 5 minutes for the officer to locate and interact with that suspect. With our system, on average, it was 40 seconds.
Wow.
So that alone, seconds matter. And if you can knock off minutes, and you're talking about seconds, every time somebody pulls that trigger, that's an attempted murder. And I can dump my Glock in less than 17 rounds in less than 4 or 5 seconds. Way less than that, probably 3.5 or 4. That's a lot of rounds coming out of a gun from somebody who doesn't give a crap about any life whatsoever. So the other interesting, I don't know if you know what force on force is, but I taught force on force as well. That's where it's basically the officers are receiving rounds back at them in the form of a simunitions round, which actually sting. And we were trying to get officers aware of, okay, it's one thing to go to a range and shoot at a paper target. It's another thing to shoot at a target that's firing back at you. It's two totally different things. When you're in a shooting, you don't have time to make sure your feet in the right stance and your grip's right and the back sight to front sight, everything's lined up, and squeeze the trigger. None of that shit matters. When push comes to shove, you're lucky if you see your sights. You know, it's point and shoot.
Yeah.
The thing that I learned from the National Tactical Officers Association when I was learning to kind of be a train the trainer was if you're a police officer and you're in a shooting and you have cover and concealment and communication, your chance of survival in that moment is over 85%. If you don't, your chance of survival is about 17%. So if a gun's exposed in a hallway, you look at that hallway, they have no cover, they have no concealment, they have no communication, they have no tactical training on top of it, they have no tools whatsoever. So at the max, they're looking at a 17% chance of survival rate because they don't have anything.
Wow.
So our schools are so soft that they cannot answer the call of need when the need is presented to itself. And our system presents that.
Yeah. Before we get into your system, I want to ask you one more question here as far as school shootings are concerned. Uvalde comes to mind when the response from the police was limited or not even existent. Is that unique? Is that was that a unique situation, or is that kind of typical? I mean, when you're trying to enter a school or something like that to take down a live shooter, I mean, we're all confused about all the news that came out about Uvalde. What do you think about the whole situation there?
It was horse shit. I watched that. I was pissed off. That's not how we train. That's not how law enforcement across the nation trains. I have no idea what was going on there. When I saw the school video and some body cam video, I was literally swearing at them. You know, but the cool part about it is I've done a lot of case studies, and if you put our system into Uvalde, regardless of the police response, there's not one kid dead. That first room, they had 2 minutes to take their school back. He goes that first door. He's got 1,200 pounds magnetic pressure. The kids are ballistically protected. The windows are enhanced. There's internal communication going on. The kids are safe. He's never getting in that classroom. He's never going to shoot through a wall. The kids are safe. So you can take the human element of it, and yes, cops are humans too. They fucked up. Well, with the tools, if the kids have the tools, you don't have a barricaded suspect with hostages. You don't have any dead child at all. They're safe. And that's what is so frustrating to me is I look at these shootings and I'm like, every single one of them, if our system was in that building at that time, the loss of life is minimized drastically.
Tell us about the system. What is the system composed of?
So it's the best analogy I can give you is the fire system analogy. If you look at the fire system, it's a multi-layered system that's designed to get the fire department there faster, put out or contain the fire, and provide a simple and easy response for the people inside, which is basically point A to point B. Our system is basically the same, just for a different threat. So what we do is we get the police there faster. We provide the tools for people inside to survive that moment, with layers such as ballistic material, magnetic sealing doors, card readers, remote lanyard notifications, a suspect identification spray that's positioned in vestibules, police buttons, mass notification. It's not like the magical artificial intelligence stuff. Our system is completely based on tactics, and it's based on the whole concept of cover, concealment, and communication. Each school that we're installed in is a custom build. We walk into the building and we go space by space by space, and we want to give that cover, concealment, and communication to every inch of that building. Most of what we're doing and have been doing has been focused on what just happened. Sandy Hook comes through the vestibule. Visitor management is born, and I argue visitor management is nothing more than a dated operation. It's not security. Cameras, they've been around forever, and they call them security cameras. They're a theft solving tool is all they are. They're an evidentiary. artificial intelligence, shot detection, metal detectors, nothing more than an alert system. It doesn't answer, okay, the alert went off, now what do we do? And they don't have a plan. So we're missing the stakeholders. So in a nutshell, it's seriously looking out. If I'm Charlie in this room and I'm Mrs. Anderson in this room, how can I stay alive? And they don't have any tools to do so. So we provide them the tools where a teacher can take their space back literally in 5 seconds.
Yeah. So where is the most rejection of your ideas? I mean, because it sounds to me like retrofitting is no problem to a school. New builds are probably the best case scenario. But where are you getting the most pushback? Are you getting the most pushback from the educators? Or are you getting more pushback from the city councils, parents? I mean, even the parents parents you would think would want to protect their kids, but I'm sure that there's a lot of pushback from parents also.
It's all the above. Most parents are all on board with us, and we started this company not to make money. We started this company to save kids' lives. It was nothing more than cops by nature. The vast majority of them, you sign up because you value human life and you want to help people, and never did this to make money. Politically, there's minds out there that everybody has their own opinion on what should be done, and unfortunately those opinions turn into arguments. And we never ask the people who actually have an idea of what actually would save somebody's life. We just keep looking to, like Shane brought up, if the state goes into special session, one side's going right back to the stupid 30-year gun talk or mental health talk. And the other side in Minnesota, in this one, they're actually going to be pushing for the SHIELD Act. Because I've actually spent time bringing down legislators to come see this system and convince them that stop fighting this. It's the definition of insanity. Every time there's a shooting, we see our whole country go into this wash, rinse, repeat. You have a day or two of grieving. You have a day or two of a demand for action that's emotionally based, of take away the guns or whatever your argument is, arm the teachers. And then you have 9 months of gun control. In a recent interview, the guy who was interviewing me, he was very passionate about banning guns. And I compliment, I said, I love your passion. We all should be so passionate about keeping our kids safe, but were you this passionate on July 1st? On what happened on July 1st? And he said, what happened on July 1st? I said, nothing. I've had this passion for 20 years. The only time our country comes out and is passionate about it is after there's dead children. Absolutely. And the time to do something is not after there's dead kids. The time to do something, and I refuse to advertise what we're doing after a shooting, because we're not ambulance chasers. We're actually trying to save lives.
Yeah. So you believe that's a gun-free zone sign or not, every school is a soft target. And my next question would be, you say people are saying put guns in the hands of school teachers, or get veterans out there to actually police the schools and stuff like that. I think what I'm hearing from you is that let the professionals take care of what they're doing. We have a resource officer on site. We have the 3D response system in place. Let the professionals take care of it and let the chips fall where they may as far as the protection of your children. Is that what I'm hearing?
Bruce, Jason, before you answer, my battery's dead. So, and I'm plugged in. So I got to figure that up. I'm going to tap out. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
Go ahead, Jason.
You really got to look into those topics a little more deep than that, because a lot of people, I hear, let's put retired military in the schools, and I don't want to even have the conversation because it's just futile, because they're so passionate and they believe in it that what Shane said, the qualified immunity, are we going to give them less lethal? Are we going to do psych evals on an annual basis? I have a 2-page list of the qualifications you have to do to even have qualified immunity. And then you have to go into the insurance side to it, which I'm not sure they're even going to cover it. But it's a very deep topic, and it's an emotional based topic, and there's a lot of people that will disagree with me, but I do urge them to just take the time to look into it. The other side to it, mental health is a big argument, and 100% mental health is a problem.
Absolutely.
And I was a mental health officer. I mean, I ran a program, and I truly believe it, but it's a generational fix. I mean, that's a topic that is so deep that we are not going to solve that tomorrow. Hopefully someday in my lifetime, we can get rid of ADHD and bipolar disorder and homicidal thoughts, but that's not a tomorrow fix.
Right.
So when it comes to the, arming teachers, I can tell you, being a school cop, you have to ask yourself, is the good gun going to be where the bad gun is when the bad gun goes off?
Mm-hmm.
It's still a response.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a fail-safe, in my opinion. I'd rather give the kids and the teachers the tools to respond, to take their space back right now, and wait for that good gun to get there.
Yeah, it's not a black and white response, and I appreciate the answer there, because as far as I'm concerned, I think that could be a lot of collateral damage in a situation where the police officers arrive to assess the situation, and all of a sudden they see somebody else with a gun, and all of a sudden this guy's dead, but he's the good guy. The bad guy's still in the school shooting up the place, and maybe there's a couple of other people in there with guns and trying to alleviate the situation, and it could be quite a mess.
That's actually happened.
Yes.
It was a shopping mall active shooter, and they aired the suspect description: black male, white t-shirt, blue jeans, handgun. And the first officer arrived, and guy came running up the front, fit the description, and 3 to the chest. He was a conceal and carry, trying to help things.
Right.
And so you're putting the cops in a really bad spot as well. Again, give them the tools. It's really, if you can take target rich environment, 2,000 kids between classes, huge target environment, and you make that environment target less than 60 seconds. Okay. When I'm responding to these things, I don't want to walk into a building that has 2,000 people running at me screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I want to walk into a ghost town where the suspect is isolated. So the tactical side to our system is police based as well, on how can we enhance the police response? How can we, because right now we're trained to follow the stimuli. We're listening for screams, we're listening for gunshot, we're looking for blood, we're looking for spent casings. We have no idea where we're going, but somewhere in this building of 500,000 square feet, there's a guy with a gun who's murdered people. Mm-hmm. So we go in searching, not hunting. And kids running at you and people running at you during that moment, it's a very sick, you don't know who's who. So just slow it down, keep the kids safe.
Yeah. I got a unique question that you've probably been asked before, and but I'm going to go ahead and ask it again because I'm sure you've had it. So as you see in my background, I have a school in the background with a basketball court and everybody else. Say the kids are out on recess. Say you've got a function going on outside. What kind of response does the 3D system have to do with the kids that are outside? I'm assuming that this system has an orientation at the beginning of the school year on this is what we have, this is what we do, this is how the kids will be asked to react in case of something like this happens. But how does the 3D response system react in the event of people out on recess or lunchtime or whatever that case may be? How does that work?
So to answer the second part of that one, we go back and we train the staff. We don't train the kids.
Okay.
I've learned that through multiple years of teaching. The kids can't handle it. So the other cool part about our system, it's so minimal that when they do the lockdown drills or the drills, all they see is a button being pushed and maybe a ballistic feature. They have no idea that there's 9 layers in their room. But anyway, open spaces. So cafeteria time. This goes back to each school is customly built. What we lack, open spaces, number one, are very hard to secure. But what you can do is you can make, if you take a cafeteria, we look at, ideally, if we have the opportunity, on each corner of that space, we will create either a safe room or, if there's not a safe room, a point of escape. We also, if you're on lunchroom duty, or let's say you're in the parking lot, you took your kids out to recess and you see a threat approaching the school or a threat approaching the parking lot. Obviously, in open spaces outside, your only real defense is get out of there. But in the same breath, you can alert the entire system via lanyard, and that lanyard is programmed for like a playground. So if you're a first grader teacher, you grab the playground lanyard, you go outside, you see a threat approaching, you hit the button, that entire school will be locked down in 60 seconds. And that teacher's job is to get their kids out of that area. So we never, there's just so much you can do in those things. It's a vulnerable spot.
Right.
So short of having, 10 cops at during recess, it is what it is. So we focus on minimizing loss of life. If anybody says any system out there is going to completely eliminate it, they're full of shit.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You can minimize it.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's the
Shane,
remote communication.
Yeah, Shane. So, what is the legislature? I mean, it's got to be a tough road for you and Walter to climb to get something like this actually implemented and passed in the legislature for Minnesota. What are some of the hurdles other than just the pushback from everybody? I mean, there's got to be a way that you can get these things in a sensible way through the legislature to be able to protect our kids. I mean, it seems senseless to me that people would just ignore the fact that kids are vulnerable here in these soft spots.
Right. So I think that's the direction we're going. Is like Jason said, he's heard the debate on guns for 30 years. More on one hand, less on the other. Got to eliminate them. The argument kind of falls on a fallacy because there's like something like 4 guns for every American. So criminals don't follow laws to begin with. And if somebody has a bad intent, they're not going to go and search the law, what they can or cannot do. So you put a system like this in place. And I asked Jason after the Annunciation Catholic School shooting, when it was put into the district it was put into, what did it cost? I don't know if you guys talked about that when I was switching from one device to the other, but that dollar amount is astounding. I think I believe, Jason, if I'm not correct, because we had this conversation yesterday, but it's a 10-year referendum. I believe it was put out, and there was other things, but the best they could decipher out of it, it comes down to $1.45 a month. So less than $18 a year for 10 years. And yeah, on your property, because the way our schools are funded, every state varies a little bit, or some states vary, I should say. But nevertheless, the schools are funded through property taxes. And so at $1.45 a month, less than $18 a year, which is $180 for 10 years. Show me the parent that wouldn't sign up for that one. There's a private school. I got to be careful because Jason tells me things and I don't know where I can and should or should not get into. But there was a private school that implemented this system, and their waiting period went up to what, Jason?
It was a waiting list went up 140%.
Because the parents knew it was there. And so there's a lot to be said for it. Now, is it the end all cure all everything? Well, there is nothing for that. I mean, the young lady on a transit train met her demise by a demonic person. There's nothing you can do to prevent all evil. But what Jason has created and his team is a large, soft target and rich environment, which is all of our children. And some people, I mean, I'd push back going, no, I won't advocate for this because I homeschool. Well, great, you homeschool, but do your nieces and nephews? I mean, like, why won't you get on board? At the end of the day, the vast majority of Americans send their kids to public schools.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, we can debate that another day, but maybe they can't afford it or what have you. And otherwise, to go to private school or homeschool. But at the end of the day, he's created something which I am dumbfounded that there's such a pushback. So in 2023, when the bill was first introduced by another person, I didn't know anything about it, to be honest. And Jason was the one that called me and said, like, I don't know what you flipping call it, but can you put your name on this bill? Whatever you guys call that nonsense. Because he walked in his shoes as a law enforcement. I'm in these shoes now as the legislator, if you will. So I kind of clarified for him what it's called. I went and found out what the bill was about, went and looked at it, and I did put my name on it in 2023. And have been advocating for it because I've been talking to Jason for all this time since. And I'm the one that had the bill to authorize teachers to carry guns. And I'll never do that again. And there's a lot of reasons why. And a lot of people bring this to Jason all the time. Why can't we just put veterans or retired law enforcement or arm the teachers or all these different things? And Jason's kind of pointed out to me all of the things that why that could be potentially a bad thing. And it's not that it's a bad thing to prohibit them from doing it. It's a bad thing because are you going to give them qualified immunity? Are you going to give them? You're going to require them to learn less lethal? Are you going to require them to have a CPR response? Because anytime a law enforcement person shoots anybody, the first thing they have to do is they have to give a CPR response or medical response. Are you going to teach them gun retention? Are you going to there's all these things factored in. How many hours a year are you going to require them? They sign up to be a teacher. They didn't sign up to be a cop. Let's just keep them safe for the extra 10 minutes, 17 minutes, whatever it may be, to give them time so they don't have to be the cop and they can just keep their kids safe, themselves safe, and move on. And actually, after seeing the system yesterday, there are so many, and I'm going to be very cautious because I don't know how much Jason wants out there, but it's proprietary wise. But there are so many redundancies and safeguards. And I'm sure people ask questions like, well, what happens if somebody hits that button and then all the kids are stuck in a hallway if all the doors closed? Well, that's all factored into it. What if a kid just pushes a button because they're curious? Well, that's factored into it too. And there is so much into this whole thing that's well thought out. I can't speak for it enough. And then beyond that, in 2023, a local chapter of Moms Demand Action anti-gun group signed on to the bill, or endorsed the bill, I should say. They endorsed the bill. And then when the state chapter found out about it, they told them, you need to get off of it. You stop, retract your endorsement, because it would keep kids safe, apparently. And their mission is to take guns away. So you figured it out. It's very political.
Yep. I know. Yeah, I know as a parent, and my kids are grown and already graduated and things, but people my age are grandparents also. I can't understand for the life of me why somebody wouldn't pay $1.40 a month extra in their property tax to support something like this. But the question that I have for Jason now is that, you got this technology. It's a brand new, it's probably not, I mean, it's a brand new technology. It's a brand new system. It's a brand new approach to how to secure our schools. Where do you see this going in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see this being embraced? Do you see this moving forward in somewhere or the other, whether it be 3D response systems or somebody else's system?
I'm not a future predictor. I can tell you what I've seen so far. And so the first private school we got installed in, we went and gave a presentation to their school board, which was all parents. And they looked at each other and they kind of said, how can't we do this? And they took a chance on us. It was our first install. And when it was done, they loved it. We were in and out of there of all of, I think, 8 weeks. They raised $300,000 in 5 weeks. They just went to the parents and they donated it. And then I walked the nearby superintendent of 16 schools, housing 12,000 students, walked him through the building. Later, him and I are best friends. He's a great man. Turns out his former life, he's a lieutenant colonel from the Army who served multiple deployments over to Iraq. When I'm giving him the tour, he walks out and he says, yep, this will work. And he made it his mission to put it on a referendum. So the problem that I'm seeing, and this kind of comes into liability, and I will be the first one on whatever news station needs to be. The threshold for liability is, did you do everything you could to prevent loss of life or injury? And if you can't answer yes to that, you will be liable. Uvalde's up to, I think, $27 billion in lawsuits.
Wow.
Because they didn't do everything they could. They could not answer yes to that. So here's where the problem lies. You have school boards, you have superintendents, and by the way, the superintendent of that district is he's a unicorn when it comes to educators, because he served in the military for a long time and earned his way through the ranks. The educators, leaders, they spoon feed their parents and community what to vote on. So every school in this nation needs a security system. And these educators need to stop grabbing the low-hanging fruit of whatever the flavor of the month is, whether it be metal detectors or cameras, and actually do some research on it. Because right now they're just wasting money, and they're wasting the least amount of money possible just to lube the squeaky wheel. And they look at what we're trying to do, and they're saying it's not in our budget. Well, last I checked, referendums are never in a budget. You're going out and asking the community for money because that's what we want to give our kids. But what we want to give our kids isn't coming from the parents. It's coming from the school board and the superintendents to tell you this is your options of what to vote on. So at the end of the day, parents need to stand up and go, educate yourself on what actual security is. The one thing in our world that we have not defined yet, we have defined fire safety, we defined car safety, we've defined workplace safety, we have policies, laws, codes for all these other things in life. But this topic was school safety. You go from district to district to district to private school, and you will run into 17 different systems or ideas. And all these ideas are based upon who? They're based upon a school board or a superintendent who's never even had a class on security. Right. They have no idea what they're talking about. And that's the problem, is we have way too many self-proclaimed experts that have never even held a gun. And that's the problem, is we're not asking the right people, and the parents aren't being vocal. The parents need to educate themselves, and they go, what are you doing for my kid's safety? Well, we have cameras and visitor management. We'll follow up with that. Is a camera going to stop a bullet? Is visitor management anything more than a day-to-day operation? Because not everybody's going to swipe their DL. Bad people don't give a shit about swiping their DL.
Yep.
It'll be a Tennessee, just shoot the glass out and go in.
Right. Shane, do you
That's
have
the
anything to
problem.
add? Yeah, Shane, do you have anything to add to that?
I do, because one of the things Jason made clear after the assassination of Melissa Hortman, and we were talking about, because there was all this conversation about home security for legislators, right? It's been a big ongoing conversation. Cameras are really good for identifying who did the bad thing, whether it was a robbery or killed you, but it doesn't prevent you from getting killed. That's why I called him back then. And that was probably, so that happened on June 14th. They probably talked on June 15th. Because there was a lot going on June 14th. But at the end of the day, like, let's prevent it. Like, stop it, or stop as much of it as possible. And there's even been conversations where Jason and I have had since, where I've, based on some of the information we were given as legislators, I don't know, just whatever. And I throw in some things at him. He goes, "Oh, good Lord, we could do that in like 5 minutes." You know, just different thoughts. And maybe they implement them, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. They'll air that out on their end. But the point being that it's a well thought out system. At the end of the day, like, give the kids the tools and the teachers the tools to take their school back. And I know Jason's told me, this is on the backside, if you will, but a couple of these that have happened recently, nobody, a couple of them, maybe two, but based on analyzing all the data that came out after the fact, instead of 18, maybe two, some zero, a couple of them zero. And after witnessing, literally walking through it yesterday and seeing what they've implemented, which some of it's so like simple, stupid. Like it's one of the terms Jason uses all the time. Keep it simple, stupid. Occam's razor. It is literally is that simple. But at the same time, you've literally secured all your kids, and now you just hunker down and then wait for further information and communication. But nothing bad can happen in that environment at that moment. It was actually, for all the conversations I've had with Jason, to actually see with my own eyes finally yesterday, after several years of talking about this, it was actually kind of eye-opening. And I think it's a thing that more parents need to know about. If the parents go to the school boards and press this upon people, now I understand that, yeah, it's going to cost money. I get that. But we could pull a lot of money from nonprofit organizations and non-governmental organizations that we don't even know what the hell they do with it, and we could apply it to this. I think the vast majority of parents will say, absolutely, let's do it.
Cool. Jason, you got any last words? First of all, I want to thank you for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it. This has been eye-opening to me. I had no idea that there was a response system like this until Shane said, you need to have this guy on. And I really want to thank Shane Mekeland for being here. I got both your guys' information in the show notes, but Jason, I'd like to give us an idea of what we can do, because I have a question here from my audience that just says, I feel like Jason's business needs national attention. How can we help spread the word?
The best example I can come up with was so I was I'm 20 minutes south of Minneapolis, and I was actually in the command center of the George Floyd riots. And post George Floyd, in my own town, which is about 75,000 people, the BLM supporters, and they were so vocal, and I mean, like, rudely vocal and demanding stuff, and the local public schools gave in to some of their demands. I question, where is people's passion for something like keeping our kids safe? Why aren't parents? I mean, I feel like me and my team have been alone in this fight, and parents need to educate themselves, get vocal about it. Don't just let it happen, and stop doing it after we have dead children. This should be something that the thought never goes away, but approach it from an educated point of view, approach it from a common sense point of view, not an emotional one, and spew facts on them. My website has a shit ton of information on it. Go through it, look at it, go to your school board, tell your friends. 7 voices are better than 1. But the only way you're going to get it to your community is to bypass that school board level to get them to change their mind on, why they think they're the expert. Why do you need to tell us what to vote on? This is what I want our community to vote on. And, just get vocal from an educated point of view.
Shane, do you have any last words on this?
Talk to your state representatives, talk to your state senators. If you have them, some states are a little bit different, but your school board members, get the voice out there. Let them know about this thing that exists where for the here and now, this is the only system that's patented that I know of. And it's a multi-layer protection system. If somebody else can recreate it, great. You do it. You could do you. But for the here and now, this is the only one. I was mandated back in 2000 that I had to put house wrap on a house, and the only one that was patented was DuPont Tyvek. So that was the 7-9 year run that we had to roll with that until then. Once that ran out, but here now, Jason's figured it out. Let's have the conversation and say, let's push the soft targets to somewhere else, because then we'll prove the point. You can't prove what didn't happen, but you can prove when it moved to elsewhere. If they realize, those that want to do evil, that they can't no longer attack a school, which has the largest embodiment of children ever, they'll go find another soft target. And not that I wish upon anybody, but you watch how fast it'll happen. And it'll be, the proof will be then in the pudding, and they can no longer make the argument that it doesn't work, because it'll move, it'll shift.
Great. 3dresponse.com is the website to go to. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Shane, for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. Very special show to me. It's something that we need to know, and it's something that we need to do. I urge everybody to go to 3dresponse.com. Just take a look through the website. You guys that are in Minnesota, please get a hold of Shane Mekeland. I give you his address right here, and actually everything that I have up here is in the show notes today, so you can email Shane at rep.shane.mekeland@houseminnesota.gov, and just do that all. And like I said, I want to thank you guys for being here, and we're going to go on with another show next week, and hopefully Ken will be okay next week, and we'll go ahead with another show. Also, I have a morning show if you guys want to go over there and see the show for X. That is the Weathered View. Just go ahead and go over to X in the morning. I start my show at 6 a.m. Pacific time, and we are live, and we talk about all this stuff that we talked about today. So again, guys, thank you much for showing up, and I really appreciate you being here, and we're going to be back next week with another show, and thank you for tuning into the Weathered Report. We'll see you later, guys. Bye-bye.